Marie Rhymes, violinist, and an album that I really that had captivated me called Reconciliation. Well, Reconciliation was an earlier album by her. The album that I really got into was actually called Tartans and Sagebrush on Biscuit City Records. The one on Philo was called Reconciliation. And as I say, that was an earlier album. But the one that I first saw was the one on Biscuit City, Tartans and Sagebrush. And in the background, there will be some songs from both of those albums. I just have a few songs that I had on tape, so I'm not sure if I have enough songs to play all the way through on this segment or not, but whatever I have, you'll hear in the background. Things got strange after the mission of the 15th of May when I came back to Mount Washington. Each night things got a little more bizarre until on Thursday night, the 24th, I called my sister-in-law, Maureen, in Vermont, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning her time and midnight my time, which is not a good time to be calling somebody. And I'd asked her if my brother Jack had planned on coming out here, because I was worried that if he came out here that there might be a plane crash, that he might be murdered. And a little paranoid, probably from the dope that I'd been smoking. And she said, well, actually, he had planned on it. He had thought about it earlier in the week, but changed his mind. And if he had been coming, it turns out that there would have been a very good chance that he would have been on Flight 191 out of Chicago, because he's taken that flight before when in his travels, and that one goes from Chicago to LA. And that 191, if he had been coming, if he, like I say, he had thought about coming out that weekend. Earlier in the week, he had thought about planning to come on that day, on that weekend, and if he had, there's a good chance he would have been on 191 in Chicago, and of course that's the flight that crashed on the 25th, killed all passengers aboard. 272 people were killed in that flight. And so even though it was paranoia on my part, it's kind of weird that there would be a crash the next day, and that it was a plane that he might have been on if he had decided that he was coming out here. So again, even though it did appear to be paranoia, it happened. I mean, the crash happened. My brother wasn't on it, but like I say, he could have been. He had taken that flight about 3 other times in his life, so it's not an uncommon flight for him to take. But anyway, the 25th was that evening of the 25th. I was chanting Aum Mani Padme Aum with a candle and sitting in a semi-yoga position and sort of facing, I think, the northeast, believing for the first time that I was Jesus. And I believed it for 10 days, 7 days in May and 3 days in June. And then my Aunt Doris, after talking with her, she pretty much talked me out of taking the job of being Jesus, but to still go ahead and write my biography, save up my money and quit my job and go back east if that's what I felt I had to do, and that's what I felt I had to do. But she said it would be wise not to tell people you're Jesus, I decided not only would I not tell people that I was Jesus, I just wouldn't believe that I was Jesus. That I just wouldn't take that job. So that's what happened. I decided not to take the job, but I did save up my money to go back east. Well, the funny thing about that weekend, it was Memorial Day weekend of '79 when I first thought I was Jesus, and the next day after I thought I was Jesus on the 25th of May, well, the very next day on the radio, I caught the tail end of a story. It was either the next day or the Sunday. It was either Saturday or Sunday. I caught the tail end of a story on KFWB News about a picture of Jesus bleeding real blood. And I'm pretty sure it was Saturday morning, the next day. And I took that as a sign, you know, to me. And it didn't say where the thing occurred, because I came in the tail end of the story. So I didn't get where it happened. And it just said that there was a real picture of Jesus that witnesses had seen that was bleeding real blood, and that it stopped bleeding. And the fact that it had stopped bleeding indicated to me, you know, here I am starting to believe on Jesus on like the day before, I'm believing on Jesus, and then the next day I hear a story about a picture of Jesus bleeding real blood that stopped bleeding. Not sure what day it stopped. At the time I wasn't sure. And I took that as a sign that this was the real thing, you know. And so on that afternoon, I did have earlier in the afternoon, I had some people come up, some friends that I talked to on the phone, and they went to the Arco Center downtown. And while they were downtown, before they came to see me, they closed down the Arco Center for a bomb threat or something. And I thought that's kind of interesting. And then they came and visited me, Larry and Judy Marcuse were their names. And while they were there, I remember there was a bee in my apartment, and being as how I thought it was Jesus, I was acting a little differently. And I went up to the bee and I grabbed a hold of the bee and took him outside, you know, without getting stung or without being afraid or anything. I just let him go outside. And that was kind of interesting. And then after they left, I decided to take the hike up to the top of the mountain where I lived. I lived at Mount Washington, and I knew there was some religious thing at the top of the mountain, some spiritual place. And it was the Self-Realization Center, started by Paramahansa Yogananda, the guy that wrote Autobiography of a Yogi. And I was given a lot of books, told to read a lot of books at that time when I was going through this, and one of the books was Autobiography of a Yogi, you know, and I did read that. When he died, there was something in there about his body not deteriorating for a very long time. That I'm not sure exactly. You'd have to read the book to find out more about that. But at any rate, when I went up to the place, the Self-Realization Center, I wanted to talk to someone, and had these audio cassettes with me, and I basically, two guys came out. I think names Paul and Peter, but I'm not sure that were their names, and some girl, and I told them that that I was Jesus and that I was back, and one of them looked at the other and said, and I told them I had these tapes, that they needed to listen to, these audio cassettes, and one of them said something to the other one about what they're making a movie about this already, or about Jesus. And they were in Israel. I found out later they were making a movie about Jesus in '79. Well, anyway, they just didn't let me come in there. They went in and got something and came out, and they told me to read some chapter in the Bible, and sent me on my way. So they never listened to my stuff. So I went back home, and after that weekend, at one point during the weekend, I think it was, we went bowling. I went to my brother Bob's in Lakewood. We went bowling sometime that weekend. I think it was on Sunday or Monday. And then I came back, and I went for a walk to the end of the street, and there were these helicopters all over the place up above the street. And of course, it had nothing to do with me, but at the time I thought it did. I had some tape erase itself on me that I never did figure out what happened there. I came back, and this one tape that I had translated had changed. It was gone. There was nothing on it. So I couldn't figure that out. And when I came back, it turns out I had all these welts all over the back of my back. It started itching and everything. They were giant welts, and I had to go to the doctor on the Tuesday there after Memorial Day weekend. And he said that I must have been sleeping on a bed of spiders or something. They apparently were spider bites. And I went to work and told them I needed some time off because of what was going on. There was very strange things going on in my life, and I needed to take a couple weeks off, and I did. And they gave me the time off. I also, when I came back, I gave them notice that I gave them a 2.5 month notice that I was going to go back east and do some writing, and I needed to quit. And that was okay with them because they were in the process of moving their offices, and I told them what was going on, and because I told them about the dope, they had decided that they weren't going to, if I hadn't quit, they were going to let me go anyway. So it was a mutual thing. They were happy to see me quit at the time because of being too honest, I guess, about having used marijuana. That was something that they frowned upon. So I did save up my money, and I did head back east to write my autobiography, but I still couldn't figure out how I was going to be able to get all my goods back there. I needed to have some of my stuff back there to write the book. I needed to have a lot of stuff back there. And well, that was sort of answered in an unusual way. I was back at work in August 6th, 8/6, the 8th or 6/8, depending on how you go with that. But it was the 6th of August, and the 86 is my name number, by the way. That was one of the things that made me believe I was Jesus at the time. I started to get into numerology a little, and Jesus Christ adds up to 43. I figured that out. The 11 of Jesus and the 32 of Christ was 43. And my name of Paul Martin Hennessy added up to 86. And the only factors of 86 are 1 times 86, or 86 times 1, or 2 times 43. 43 times 2, so 43 at the second coming, Jesus Christ at the second coming. So, it sort of fit in with my beliefs. And on 8/6, August 6th, or the 6th day of the 8th month, I was on my way to Anaheim to go to Tower Records in Anaheim, and I was on the Golden State Freeway heading towards Anaheim, and right near the Triggs Street exit, I think it was, just outside of downtown. And I saw this guy walking along the freeway with a baby in his hand. He had a motorcycle parked in a little island, it was a Lines Island, not a the lined off section. And he was walking with the baby in his arm, and I spotted the helmet that they were going back after. Apparently it was the kid's helmet, the baby's helmet. And some car hit the helmet, and it came careening at my windshield. So here's this guy walking with a baby on the freeway, and there's this motorcycle helmet coming towards me, and in the background my cat is chasing him off and almost knocked the light over. And anyway, that's what's going on right now. That's what any noise you might have heard there. Looks like you got them off. Anyway, I had to slam on my brakes and try to avoid hitting the guy with the baby. And the motorcycle helmet missed me, but the truck behind me didn't miss me, and I was driving a Pinto, the exploding kind, and a Pinto runabout. It was a 72 Pinto runabout. And the guy hit me twice in the truck. It was not a 18-wheeler, but it was bigger than a pickup. It was a flatbed, about a 1.5 ton or whatever those things are. And he hit me twice because he was that close. And when the time I stopped and everything, he gets out and he says, "How come you slammed on your brakes?" He didn't ask me how I was or anything. apparently he didn't see the guy with the baby and the motorcycle helmet coming towards my windshield. But nobody got hurt in that accident. And 6 days later, I had a check from the insurance company for $1,400. Plus, I was able to sell my car. So I had the money to have my goods shipped back, to buy an airline ticket to fly back, and have my goods shipped back. You know, so that worked out pretty good. So that's what I did. And when I got back east, again, I was no longer believing I was Jesus, but when I got back east in late August, things started to get strange again. And we'll continue with part 5 in segment 5, what happened when I was back east. Thank you.